Hey everyone, I'm going to be going over the Google Classroom rubric today. We're going to cover what is it first of all, how do you create one, how does it work. There's this feedback bank that allows you to save your comments, which is super useful. And then I'm going to give you an honest evaluation of Google's take on this analytical rubric and how well it works from the teacher's perspective. All right, go away sticky note. So I am on the classwork tab of my Google Classroom page. I'm going to scroll down to an assignment that I've already turned in, and I'm going to kind of work backwards. I'm going to show you the end product first, because then that kind of will tell you, do I really want to create one of these? You'll be able to see the outcome before you make the attempt. So this is what my students would have seen in the post. I'm just going to go ahead and click right on the rubric that's displayed under the description of this assignment and before the links, and it says rubric for criteria. Now here's the rubric that I laid out. I modeled this after one that I had on a paper-based copy. On this assignment, I did not have the students turn in a digital assignment. We actually did this paper copy, and then I graded it online. And I did that just for my own purposes. I wanted to see how cumbersome this was, and that gave me the bailout option. Like, okay, if this is too cumbersome, I can grade it on a piece of paper like normal, and I won't have to deal with the whole digital aspect. It worked okay, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. So we have these analytical rubric, and we can see that I have my criteria for each step listed, and this is in a descending order, meaning that our highest point values are on the left, and then you move to the right to get to the lowest point. And I did that because I want my students looking at, like a book, where are we reading left to right, where are we going to need to achieve the highest. I don't want them to see low points first. So just my personal opinion. Right off the bat, there was one thing that really bugged me that I didn't like. I couldn't put point ranges in here. I could only put in 1 point. So for instance, you can see to get an A, this box is 8 points. But if you go down to the CD range, ideally this one should say between 4 and 5 points. My CB range should be between 6 and 7 points, so on and so forth. So that one kind of irked me. Not a complete deal breaker, but I just would have liked to put that out there. And the same here. You can just see this sliding scale. And I just have 4 of these criteria levels for my rubric. So far, so good. So this is what my students would have been able to see before they did the project, just like I normally do when I hand out a paper rubric. All right, so let's now go back and look at the grading aspect of this project, because this project is all done. All right, so let's go to the assignment, and I actually had everybody turn it in. These 2 students moved in afterwards, so they're not slackers. But this is my turn-in page. I'm going to open up one of the students' assignments, and I thought this is awesome. I can grade it right from here. I can look at their project and just click. So if you click the drop-down menu, I thought, yes, I can just click the boxes, but no, you can't. I was like, okay, so how do I go ahead and grade this? Well, you actually go to the Grade Rubric button at the bottom right, and it opens up a new tab. And now this is where their project would be displayed, but remember, my students did it on the paper. But if you did it digitally, it'd certainly be there. And we can then grade here. So for instance, if I'm grading this one, I can actually click here, and if I need to see, okay, what are those drop-down boxes again, I can actually click the drop-down arrow here and look at each individual one. And I can do that for all of them. So that sped it up quite a bit. I also like to add in some comments. I explain specifically why somebody got marked wrong. So I started adding those in before I was like, what does this button do here? This is a comment bank. So let's say this student did a great job. I come to the clipboard and hit copy to the clipboard, and then go back to the grading, and then paste it into the comments. So for something short like great job, that's pretty cumbersome to copy and paste just for 2 words. So I'd probably just type that one. But if you had a longer one, like a more in-depth explanation, more than one student is missing that, and you're getting sick of typing it, you can add it to this comment bank. And you do that just by clicking up here. You type in the comment like normal. Do a test comment. It adds it into the bank. And then use the 3 dots, hit copy to the clipboard, and then you copy and paste in here. It won't actually paste in because this assignment's already been returned, but that's how you would do it. I was hoping that with the comment bank you could just like click on it and it would automatically apply it, because that would really speed up the process. But maybe that's in a later version for Google. So that's how you end up grading them. And then when you're done with this student, you click to the next and you continue grading. It's a pretty simple process. There are some little catches, but I'll again talk about that in a moment. All right, so let's go back now and look at the creation of this assignment. So I am going to back out of here. I'll just click on my home page, go back to the classwork, and you create this rubric right in the assignment. So we create an assignment just like we would for any other. Give it a title. You can add in some instructions. I don't need to here. Make this, actually I think has to have a grade for the rubric. So let's put on, let's make it a 20 point. You could adjust your due dates or whatever. And then down here at the bottom it says plus rubric. Okay, so let's create one. And this is the cool part. You can reuse a rubric if you've already created them. So let's create one. And this is what the creation bar looks like. So my first criteria, and let's just say, let's just call it looks. How does it look? And we'll add in 3 levels for this. And these levels are like, this is great, average, and you don't have to put these in here, and bad. And I'd be more detailed for my students. And then because we have this set as descending, we need to put in our point value. If you put them in backwards, it'll actually rearrange them for you. So then you would add in some description of, oops, and I did that incorrectly. And we want that one to be bad. 3 points, you did a bad job. No. Okay, so description. That's where you would write in the description of what you would want for that content. What are the requirements for it to be look good? And then, so if we go to the next piece of criterion, let's just say this is content. And again, we can add in those levels. We add in those points. So I'll actually do this backwards. This one I'll do 1 and then 3 and then 2, and it flips them around. So you can do this out of order and it'll make it all nice and pretty for you. And you just keep adding in. The more you have, more content you have, or more criteria you have, the more levels you add in. And once you're done, you click save, and it builds the rubric for you, and this is what it'll look like. This is the one we just created. You can see it tallies it up at the top. Easy for the students to read. I really like that feature. And then you would just click the assign button, and of course I didn't put a topic on it, so it's just going to put it right at the top of my Google Classroom page. So that's the basics of how that rubric works and how to create one and kind of how to use one. Honest time, I told you I'd give you my honest evaluation of it. It felt really, really chunky to me. I didn't like how the comments worked. I really wish that I could have just graded right on the assignment page and clicked through the buttons instead of opening up a brand new page. You still have to tally the total points. It does it for you, but then you have to like write it in. So there were a few things that individually, like if it was just one of those, I could have lived with, and it would have made it a lot faster process for me. But the whole point for me using technology is to streamline it, make it faster, and get content and feedback back to my students faster. And this didn't do that. So I haven't used it since this one. I thought maybe if it was a really big project that I was giving a lot of comments on, like I've got this lab report coming up later in the year, I'll probably use it for that. But smaller projects where the comments aren't very deep, the project isn't very long, I didn't find it very useful. It's a cool tool to have, and I'm sure Google's going to get better with it as time goes on, so we'll keep an eye on it. Hope this helped, and I hope maybe you find the rubric useful.